Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. Your host, Tracy Hayes. I have an amazing guest today, is making a difference in the real estate space. She is not only an owner-broker of a local real estate agency, she is a coach that has launched her own podcast. And I'm really interested in that because I've really indulged in that in this past couple of days, listening to all her episodes, and they are inspirational. She has an experience and growth story that will inspire anyone looking to become a successful agent. Her love of teaching and coaching others to their own definition of success has enabled her to create and nurture the program which she has named Game Changer. She's bilingual.
I am.
She believes your business grows with the extent that you do. Oh, we may have heard that on this podcast before. Amen to that. She is a national director of The Locker Room, a real estate coaching company. Let's get on the field with the owner broker of Game Changer Real Estate, host of Game Changer Real Estate Podcast, Your First 5 Deals, Jennifer Henry.
Hey, thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you. I as I told you, I really, if your downloads on your podcast went up in the last 24 hours, it's because I started listening to one after another, and I didn't listen to them in order initially. I kind of just went down and said, well, let me just listen to a couple of topics that maybe I'd be interested, because you have some short ones and then you have a couple interviews. And I just like, okay, hold on, I got to go back to the beginning. And then I was bouncing around. I was taking my son to his scouts. He's in scouts, and I'm listening to your podcast last night.
Love it.
Going through the episodes. But the things that you're delivering, and I have to say this, the quality of your podcast is excellent. Your sound quality, you sound great.
That's awesome. It's an iPhone.
Is it really?
Seriously, my iPhone.
Oh, wow. You have a mic or anything?
I do. And I go into a very quiet space. Because I have some dogs. I can't do it around my dogs. But outside of that, thank you for that.
Wow. The sound quality is just awesome. Now, are you personally editing that yourself, or are you having someone?
No, I have software that edits, but I have an assistant that does all my...
They are doing
yeah.
Well, that's one of the things is you got to have the sound quality. Yeah. Because people will start listening to it, and if it doesn't sound good, they're like, I just, It's irritating.
Yeah. Yes. I don't want to be irritating. Yes.
But, man, everyone needs to, after listening to this, go and search out Jen's podcast. It is great. She doesn't go on as long as I do. You have some short clips right to the point in there. But if you're a new agent and you're driving to the office, or you're driving to a listing, or on your way home, you can knock out one of her shows, and they're excellent. Excellent. You have some good interviews in there as well.
Thank you so much.
But let's start off like I always do. Tell us a little about where you're from.
Well, I have a different kind of where I'm from story. I don't have anywhere I'm actually from.
Okay.
I am a missionary kid and an Army or Air Force brat. So we kind of lived everywhere. And but that said, Jacksonville, Florida is where I've been the longest. I've lived here for 17 years. So now I call Jacksonville home.
Awesome. Now I go back in your LinkedIn, as I do most research on most people. LinkedIn at least gives me some sort of timeline of what's going on. So I think it was pre-2005, early 2000s, you're in Springfield, Missouri.
I was, yep.
And you were in the actual, the construction business, or what were you?
Yeah, my husband at the time was building homes, and that's how I got into real estate. I was a stay-at-home mom. I was actually pregnant with my son, and he started building. He had a company, and he was building homes, and he said, hey, Jen, save me the commission. Get your real estate license and sell my specs. So I did.
Makes sense.
That's how I got my start.
All right. 2005, what brings you to?
He got a job transfer here. So he had another job on top of his business, which kind of shut our business down there in Missouri. Yeah. He moved here, got a great opportunity to join a company here as a project manager. So he did that. I moved here, and I'm like, well, great. I have my license in Missouri. What am I going to do now? Right. So I just decided to get my license. Didn't know a soul here in Jacksonville. Got my license, and the rest is history.
So what was interesting is I was not listening to your episodes in order, but I eventually went to episode number 1, and you give a little history there.
I do.
And what I thought was just very opening it, just you putting yourself out there, and I think a lot of agents are going to relate to you, although some say they never thought about quitting, but you actually got to the point after a couple of years of not really having a good leadership, not having someone good to follow, you kind of stepped out of the sales side.
Oh, I just straight up quit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate the tact. I appreciate that. No, I didn't quit. I threw it up against a wall and said, I never want to see you again. And it shattered. Right. But to preface that, I did not have a support system at home. that wanted me to be successful. And so I was fighting against that. I also did not have leadership and training and coaching, didn't have that. So I didn't have anyone telling me I could do it. Now, I'm not being a victim here.
Right.
I just know the vast difference for me between not having it and having it and what it meant in my success.
Well, we talk about, I always try to bring up with every great agent that I have on is, to bring up those trials and tribulations so that the, 80, I think you used the number 87%.
87%.
Drop out, and, they're sitting in there. Some of them are taking a test today for the real estate license, knowing that 9 out of 10 of them aren't even going to be in that room in 24 months, roughly.
Sad.
And that not because of the time period that you were in, I think you would agree with this. It was just, you didn't even have, there wasn't even enough leadership to even like push you in the right direction of like, hey, go talk to so-and-so, or hey, you need to go to this class. It was just footloose and fancy free.
Yeah.
You just felt kind of lost in the shuffle.
I was lost is the best way to describe. But here's the interesting part. I didn't know I was lost.
Yes.
I was just doing what I thought. I saw some people successful, many people not. And I was just doing what I thought I needed to do. And the real reason I quit and quit so violently was because I had a really bad transaction that I never should have done to begin with. And had I had leadership training and coaching, probably could have avoided that terrible transaction. So it really was a bad transaction that made me throw in the towel. And so if I had had the coaching, leadership, and training that I know I provide now, because now I truly understand why agents fail, then I really feel like I could have probably avoided going through that pain. All of that to say, I'm glad I did it though,
right?
Because it brings me here.
Right. There's I think we all have a path, and he tests us all the time.
Yeah.
And that was a test.
That was a test.
So as your story went on, and I was listening in that first episode, you end up falling into I think it was a Keller Williams team at the time, just as a job in the operations transaction part of it.
Well, for 2 years, the 2 years that I quit, I really had convinced myself that I just wasn't any good at it.
Right.
And then I decided I just needed a job, like a real, air quotes here, job. Yeah. And so I
would just call it W-2.
I needed a W-2. I did.
Yeah.
I thought, well, that's what I need. I'm a single mom at this point because I had gone through a divorce, and I'm a single mom, and I'm just doing what I can to hold it all together. And so I got a real job. But, unfortunately, and I'm not here to disparage a W-2, but this is a business podcast. So clearly we're talking about bigger and better, right?
Yeah.
$12 an hour doesn't cut it.
No.
Yeah, and the most I could ever find, because I didn't have a college degree, and the only experience I had was real estate. The only job I could find was $12 an hour. And so I found a $12 an hour job in real estate thinking, oh, this is the perfect solution for me. I'll just make it here.
Yeah.
And then, not 3 months into that gig, did I see what these real estate agents were cashing. And I was on a team that provided training and support to their agents. And I saw and learned things from the administrative side that I was like, how did I not know this? And had I known this, would I have sucked so bad at this? And that was the pivotal moment for me when I decided that $12 an hour job was actually going to, even though it was giving me a small sense of security, it was actually going to hold me back.
Several thoughts have gone through my head in this. One is a thing I've mentioned before on the show, and I'm putting that out there to the leadership of NEFAR and the St. John's board. I think you would be an inspiration to come in. I offered to come in because of all the agents that I've talked to, not to talk about Loan Depot and loans. It's not where I'm coming in to sell. I don't have to wear this shirt. I want to come in and talk to you about the common themes. And one of them is what we're talking about right here, and how so many new agents are out because of that first step that they make improperly. Maybe the first step is taking the test. It's a second, whatever, those initial steps, and all of a sudden they're off on the wrong track, and they don't realize there actually are so many ways to do this business. There are so many great people, and then there's something out there for everybody, because some people probably could just step in and run with it. I don't know, whatever it is, it just clicked with them. You needed a little more hand holding, which I think most agents do. That's why they join some of these teams to get that, get their career started. But just like they keep talking about teaching financial literacy in the high schools, and then kids need to be better, real estate agents need to take a few moments and actually, sit in front of a panel.
Yeah.
And explain to them, hey, there are many ways to do this business. You can go join this team here. This brokerage does it differently than that. And you got to find which one meshes with you best.
That's right. And, hence my brokerage, which is really our model. Our model is to help agents figure that out. But I really do feel like you almost don't even know that until you've done a few deals. Give yourself a year in the business, really hustling out there to really learn, okay, this is what I enjoy about it. This is what I don't, because we're all different. And really figuring out where you land and having somebody come alongside you that's been where you are and understands what it's like to fail, but then come back and restore their business and life through this industry, because it is a fantastic industry.
Do you feel, we know there's smart people out there getting into the real estate business, and they are taught. I think some of them may be afraid to actually, before they actually even take the license, hey, I think I might want to become a real estate agent, because they know that, I wouldn't say negative, but the generally most people are going to lead with, hey, just going to let you know, you got to get yourself out of bed every morning. You're going to have to prospect, and how are you going to do that? This is how I do it. That might not fit you. We'll talk about that in a little bit with the disc assessment and so forth. But because that conversation is somewhat negative and may actually turn them away from their dreams, when that person is really setting, kind of giving them a clear picture of, hey, it's not all sunshine and roses. You actually have to work. It's not just showing beautiful homes and get a check.
It's not HGTV.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you and I really could actually start to build something. This was going through my mind last night. This is me. My visionary. I'm a visionary.
Oh, so am I.
So
we got some dangerous things.
Got some dangerous stuff right here. That to put a panel together when these people go, and it's open. I mean, you don't have to. You're not required to get a license to come. But if you really want to, that panel is open for anyone to come in and ask whatever, and get 4 or 5 people's different opinions. Be pointed in the directions, whether it's Watson Realty, whether you want to go with Keller Williams or a boutique realty, like Game Changer, I call them boutique, I guess. Is
independent.
Yeah, or like Round Table below here, independent one. You got to go out, and what questions you should be asking that broker, right?
Yeah.
I just feel there's like this huge gap, and so many good people are 87%.
I was going to say,
it's kind of frustrating.
It's 87%.
Yeah. 13%
are going to make it. And here's I don't know if you've listened enough in there to know, or if I've talked about it recently in my podcast, but of that 13%, of the whole 100%, only 3% are going to sell 24 homes or more a year. So even in that 13%, we're not talking about all these people are making a living that truly could support their family. I mean, we're talking a very, very small minority of 3% are actually out there killing it.
100% agree, because I see those numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that who's on the front page of that, and then how quickly the numbers drop off.
Yeah, they drop off drastically, and so it's almost misleading, the statistic of even 13% or make it.
Right.
Because 13% may be still licensed, but may not be doing this in such a way that they can truly craft the life that they want to have.
Right. So we're going through some of these. You mentioned I don't know why I have this up. Partnered with your husband Jeff, because he was in real estate.
Yeah, he's in real estate now. So in that story, I did get remarried.
Yes.
And got back into real estate and all of that, and really built my life back from nothing, because truly going out of the business for 2 years and working on the $12 an hour really financially ruined me. And it took me a while to get my life back. But real estate did do that for me. So that's why I'm a real estate avid supporter for the rest of my life, because of what it can do.
Yeah.
And quickly, when you put your head and heart into it.
Right.
So my husband and I remarried Jeff Henry, and he's a real estate agent as well. And we built a team, and that's kind of where our next part of the story starts.
When we don't want to use that term quickly, loosely, but whether it's the loan officers prospecting the real estate agents, you prospecting your buyers and sellers. You start a process, and we're going to talk a little bit because I really want to dig into the DISC assessment and the other assessment you mentioned there as well, because I've taken the other one as well. Strength Finders, yeah, and how you align. But to get with the right people, find out, take these personality tests to figure out what is it that makes, as Missy Katie Kampmeyer. Yes, Katie Kampmeyer. Thank you. Sorry, Missy. Yeah. Missy Katie Kampmeyer mentioning what makes your heart sing. And that's what I titled her podcast, What Makes Your Heart Sing, because that's really what her show came down to, is you got to do what makes your heart sing. And I think you talk about it on your podcast a lot, finding out whatever your prospecting thing is that because you have to prospect.
You're not getting away from that.
Yeah.
There is no easy button.
But there's many ways to do it.
There's so many. And if you want an easy button, the way you find an easy button is you do it your way. That is your easy button. That's as easy as it's going to get. Yeah. You're still going to have to show up for it. You're still going to have to get up, put on your clothes, act like this is a real job, a real business, because it is yours and it's the best one you'll ever have. But you're still going to have to treat it like a business and do it in such a way that is sustainable by really doing what makes your heart sing. Thank you, Missy.
I think in the things that have happened to me in the last, really actually my 17-year career in the loan officer world, there's things about knowing about how to write a loan and stuff, but how the business is being operated. And I see the same in the real estate agent space, that the people that are successful, that 3%, they're finding what makes their heart sing.
They are.
Yes.
You are. I mean, you probably ask any one of them, what is the one or two things you do exceptionally well? When I walked into your office here to do this podcast, I saw that this makes your heart sing, because, and you've built a business around this. This, to our listeners, your podcast is an exact example of what people should be doing. And honestly, that's how I'm building mine, through my podcast and through speaking. Those are the two ways that I'm using my gift of communication to reach people through my message.
And what you enjoy to do, what gets you excited.
I get up in the morning. I woke up this morning so excited to be on your podcast today.
I appreciate that.
And it is, and to me, this is a way to build my business, build your business, have excitement, walk out of here energized, not walk out of here tired. So, and that's a real clue, about business, is if it's making you tired every day and going home and being grumpy with your family, it's probably not something that's in alignment with you.
I totally agree. And it doesn't take much, but what I guess we might as well just break open the DISC assessment and the strength assessment. Sure. John with Momentum Realty, him and his wife Brittany, they said, hey, you need to take, because they saw the visionary. I knew you were gonna, the top 5 categories, right? He goes, I knew you were, that was gonna be one. I forget which one it was, but one of the things was in there, because from the visionary standpoint. But you're 100% right. When you hire somebody, you've got to find out what makes their heart sing.
That's right. And
because if you want the most out of them, and I think too many, we know there's brokerages out there to just sign somebody up and say, hey, we got a new agent coming on. It's same in the loan officer world. They're doing the same thing. Oh, I got a new loan officer. Yeah, okay. And then they just come in and they drain the entire thing because they're only doing a couple deals a month, and you've got all this technology and everything. It's like, okay, well, we need 100 of those because they're only doing a couple. But if we found out what made their heart sing, they would be doing 10.
That's right.
10xing it.
That's right.
Their business. Because I could talk about the two assessments. I want you to talk about it because you talk about it on your podcast. The importance, because you preach both the DISC and the strength.
Yeah, to me, they're a team.
How do you utilize that? And like John at Momentum, he actually has his agents take that strength test to find out what makes their heart sing, especially in prospecting. It's like the number one thing to do.
Yeah. Well, so our agents, all the agents we hire are brand new. And one of the things I've found with brand new agents, because again, I remember being one vividly, even though it was 20 years ago, they lack confidence. They see the 3% of the people that are out there killing it, and they're like, oh, that's who I'm up against. No, that is not who you're up against. You're up against yourself. But nonetheless, people lack confidence. And so while it does make you happier to do what makes your heart sing, it's also going to give you confidence. And when you can walk in more confidently, you can get the business. So what we do with our new agents is after they're done with their onboarding, they do the DISC assessment. It will yield one of 4 results or a combination thereof of the DISC, which is a personality. It's your behavior traits. Mm-hmm. And then from there, we have them do the Strengths Finders, the Gallup Strength Finders assessment, which shows them what their strengths are. And then we help them craft a lead generation plan around the combination of those 2. And then we help them create a graphic marketing piece that really outlines and showcases it so that a consumer will see it and go, oh, that sounds like an alignment that I want to be a part of.
That is the piece I think people know that's out there, but don't actually go for it.
Yeah.
Is that alignment piece? Because I think you talk about in one of your shows, it was one that you had the guest on. I can't remember the name. It was a female guest that you had on, and she was talking about that part and finding, you're not, and as you guys talk about, you're not everyone's going to like you.
Yep. Hopefully
more like you than not, obviously, but you got to keep putting yourself out there. Do you find more and more people that like you?
That's right.
And you have to, whether it's, doing podcasts or videos or whatever it is, to expose people, to show what it is that, and this is one of the questions, and something I love to sit down with you afterwards, and we're not on a time and being recorded, just to have a conversation about it, but how you break down, because you talk about the resume. Mm-hmm. And
the graphic resume,
and putting on there stuff that really highlights, the things you like to do. How do you exploit that? How do you put that out there?
Well, so the graphic resume, again, it's my term. I don't know if that's even a marketing term. I just use that term. Mm-hmm. The graphic resume is a way for an agent or the consumer at a glance to see who this agent is. Because if all they think is you're a realtor, well, you look just like every other realtor, 10,000 of us here in Jacksonville. So we've got to really set you apart. So the key component to a graphic resume, and the key difference between a resume you're giving to an employer and a resume you're using in this case, is that we're positioning it to be what's in it for the consumer. That's the key differentiator. So this resume is not, here's my degree, da, 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 da. Even though all those things are in there, it's all tied into, all right, Mr. Consumer, Mrs. Consumer, I have all these things, and this is what it means to you.
Right.
And this is why you want a realtor with these characteristics.
What are we seeing today? And I bring this up because obviously I go on everyone's LinkedIn that comes on, and I've had agents where their LinkedIn hasn't even been updated, doesn't even say anything about real estate. But in this technological internet world that we're in, this is an area for you to brand yourself, and branding is number one top topic that's in not only in the loan officer, but more in the real estate world, because I do believe consumers choose you guys more because of you than the name of who you hang your sign on.
100%.
From that standpoint. So, lost my train of thought there. Where was I going with
You're going with the LinkedIn and...
Oh, the LinkedIn, yeah. So how important it is to have that alignment, because you don't know if there's a graduate from Southeastern Mass, a good friend of mine went there, right? Mm-hmm. Small school. So he's probably not listening. But you don't know who might have gone there.
That's right.
You don't know who, they might have been from Indiana and went there. You don't even know.
That's right.
And if you're not putting that out there, that's another block you're missing. And then obviously on LinkedIn, the algorithms are linking you with commonalities that you have with other LinkedIn, just like Facebook and other things do that. So when you started talking about this resume and your podcast, I was like, wow, I want to dig in with her. Mm-hmm. I want to do something like that for myself.
I would love to help you do one.
Yeah.
So if I could tell you what the components are, it's the contact information of the person.
The obvious.
Yeah. A bio that doesn't restate what the other points state, something unique. The bio is usually more who you are, your belief system, your hobbies, family, where you're from, that kind of stuff.
How do you express that, though? I mean, those things sound great as titles, but how does one personally, if I'm doing a resume today and looking for a higher paid job, I'm hiring a professional that can word that
I
really
agree.
well.
Mm-hmm.
So are you bringing in that into?
Well, so my top strength is communication. I love to write. It's an area that I excel in. But don't ask me to do math. So,
I'll take that side.
Okay,
I'll do the math.
You do that. Let me do the language arts here.
Yeah.
So with my agents, I tell them to write their bio, and then I will help them craft it in such a way that I think is appealing, that flows, and so forth, using their own words. I don't want it to be my words.
Right.
But sometimes other people can write a better bio for you than you can write for you.
100%.
Yeah, and so I help them. I help them do it, and and if you're not somebody who's good with words, have somebody that is write it for you.
Well, just like the term beliefs, and in the political climate, there's other terminologies and stuff, religion and stuff. When you use the term beliefs, there has to be a creative way to do that, yet stay apolitical, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. And it's a touchy subject, especially in today's world.
Although there's no doubt there's customers we have gravitate to us because of that. Some of those political or religious beliefs that we may have too.
That's right.
So how do you balance which one?
You really make peace with the fact that if you're going to be open about your beliefs or political stance, you're okay losing customers over it. And if you can make peace with that, then just get the customers you're going to have. Now, in my brokerage, I really, really, really don't want to create any kind of disturbance in the world. Like, that's not what our brokerage is about. We do have some strong beliefs that we stand on. As an owner, I have beliefs that obviously I attract to me what is similar. Yeah. But when it comes to business, I let me put it to you like this. I had a realtor once, not at my brokerage, and a long time ago. He said to me, I have strong beliefs politically, and I feel like I should be able to put them on Facebook. And I'm like, you know what? That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But let me ask you, if someone doesn't hire you because of that, are you okay with it? Oh, I don't. He hesitates. Yeah. I said, so what if your next door neighbor doesn't hire you and puts their home on the market with someone else, because are you okay with that? And he couldn't be okay with it. He was like, oh, I guess I'm not. So in that case, are you really willing to take that strong of a stand? Yeah. Yeah. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah. I literally cleared off everything, partly because my wife was also making the same sort of statements that you were making. Yeah. Although amazingly, like you said, we attract like kind. We don't even have to talk. All of a sudden, in conversations, someone says something, and and I think the areas that we live in, you don't have to say anything.
That's right.
You find out who then aligns with you. Then if you want to go off in a private room and go talk.
Well, let's be honest though. You're not ever going to have 100% alignment with everyone.
Right.
You may have a political alignment, but not some other thing in your life. Maybe you love dogs and they hate dogs. Like, at the end of the day, we are all different, unique individuals walking this planet. Mm-hmm. And the better we can see each other as just really appreciating your differences, the better we can get along.
Right. So back to the resume.
Yeah.
Expressing this out there, because from what I got from your podcast episode there is you want that customer, buyer, seller, to see you and align with you.
Yes.
So you're trying to stay that apolitical, not really, slant either way, but yet still express your
uniqueness.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fine line to walk.
Yeah. And
again, whatever you write in there, you got to willing to take a stand for it, and also be willing to be okay with not getting customers that don't resonate with that. I recently one of my team members posted some of our agents' resumes. And some of the resumes that were posted, the graphic resumes, had some strong spiritual beliefs in them. Mm-hmm. And she wrote in, and it was an interesting conversation. She wrote in on Facebook, she commented that she would never hire one of those agents because of some of the things they said. And I felt like, well, that proves my point. The whole point is we don't want to work with people that aren't in alignment with us. You want to hate your life? Work with people that are not in alignment. Now, again, I'm not talking about 100% belief, but people that are so different from you that you can't even get behind. So in that case, there are plenty of people that do.
Yeah, yeah. It does shock me that you think of all the, I guess, polarizing things that we have out there that at least the media tells us are polarizing.
True.
And if you believe that, great. I don't go home with you. I don't eat dinner with you.
That's what I'm saying.
But you're a good real estate agent, and I know you're going to negotiate because you don't care who I am.
Right.
From that standpoint, you care about me as a person, and you want me to get me into a home or get you a good loan or whatever. Because at the end of the day, that we want everyone to be happy and go home. You got your home. We're not trying to eliminate you from the earth.
No, absolutely not.
And people, I think some people go to that kind of extreme. I don't. So find the people you align with. So I'm really interested in that, and hopefully we can dig into the resume. Yeah. One question I always like to ask is, what do you do? Because you're coaching, you're obviously leading a brokerage. What are you doing? Because you had that term, and I wrote it down here. You said it earlier, actually. Maybe I didn't write it. I was writing so many of your statements down for the podcast.
I love it.
Oh my God. But the only competition you have is you.
Oh, yeah.
And so what are you doing? Because I'm on that same thing. I keep telling the only competition is me. If I'm not getting a deal, trust me, it has nothing to do with the product. And I'm going to tell you right now, guys, unless your interest rate is just gross, it's not that either. It's, people refer you. There are people aligned with that, and they're going to go, so you have to work on yourself. If you're missing if you miss 5 deals, 4 of them is because of you. 1 may be because, somebody just give me the interest rate. They don't care what kind of service they're getting, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. What do you preach to your agents really for that personal development? I mean, podcasts, books, what do you like to do?
As far as for them to get the business?
Well, no, just first working on yourself. When you talk about working on yourself and improving yourself, you're your only obstacle.
Yes.
What do you?
Yeah. So, so many things. Mm-hmm. Podcast, big time. I'm always recommending articles to read, podcasts to listen to, things like that. I believe that people will grow based on 2 very important things: the books they read and the people they know. And so my job is to expose my agents and the people I lead to more people to know and to more books to read, especially when it aligns with certain things they're working on in their life. And we can't be working on all the things all the time, right? But we can pick 1 or 2 things we want to work on. So for me right now, and by the way, I don't believe on working in your weaknesses. I believe on working on your strengths. Don't waste your time trying to be good at something. If you're not good at podcast and you can't fathom the thought of looking at this microphone being recorded, don't do it.
Right.
Go find something that will work for you and work on that.
Do a TikTok video.
There you go. What is it? 8 seconds? However long you got, go do that. Yeah. No, when it comes to perfecting your skills, it is something you've got to be really intentional about. Where, your business is you are the lid of your business. So whatever you've grown to, that's where your business will grow. You cannot expect your business to outgrow you. You will have to grow for the business to follow. And that's a really important part. So yes, podcast, seminars, conferences, training events. Of course, I do believe all agents should be attending the training their brokerage is offering. Mm-hmm. NEFAR offers some great trainings. Go to your board. Do whatever you need to do to stay current.
How do you, when we've talked this over the many episodes, because we talk about events, and a lot of times I think a lot of people shy away from events because, I got to spend whatever, I got to travel there, I got to stay in a hotel, whatever it may be, and there's, $1,000 expense, whatever it may there. And really, you might be there for a couple of days, and maybe the only thing you take out of it is this 15-minute segment that really just light bulb goes off or whatever, right?
Life changing.
And or so many of them are going to events before, and they're getting all these golden nuggets are just coming out like, oh my God, I got to do that. Oh, I got to do that. I got to do that. How do you debrief from an event like that and get them focused on those 1 or 2 things they can do today to move the needle, and then worry about 3 and 4 a little while down the road?
Love that. Yeah, we talk about, obviously you're going to be taking notes, writing things down, and I agree with you. Sometimes it's what you're hearing, and sometimes it's just perspective you're getting. Mm-hmm. Perspective is big. I've been able to go to events and didn't actually take a strategy away, but rather I saw someone do something that I didn't think was possible and suddenly became possible for me. So events, these conferences and seminars and things are great. But when it comes to debriefing and it comes to really downloading what you need to do, I always recommend when you're making your notes, take a highlighter and highlight in a different color your actual action items. Mm-hmm. Okay, you're writing down all these ideas. Now, what is What is actionable?
Right.
And then the next thing you can do is meet someone at the event. Make a point of being intentional. Meet someone at the event that can be an accountability partner for you when you leave, that you can do the same for them. That's really taking it to the next level.
I like that. I think we do meet some great people at these events.
We do.
And a lot of times we don't stay in touch, but really having that accountability person, or in your case, I mean, coaching is your passion. You're right there in the office. So you're kind of like the on the spot coach. I think, in my experience, I hired a coach for the podcast. I've had a mortgage coach for the last year. You need that coach to hold you accountable. They're going to give you some ideas because you're going to be like, hey, I really want to do this. And they know something over here. They're going to pull it into you and that sort of thing. But you need that accountability. And also, like I said, when you come back, it's like, you're going to have 20, you might have 20 things on there. They're like, oh man, these are all great ideas, but what can I do today? Because the average person, whether real estate, doesn't matter what industry you're in, are going to go and never close that notebook and never go back to it. Yep. And you got a little energy out of the event. You got a little excitement, but then you didn't actually move the needle in implementing some of the ideas.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the strengths finders. Talk a little bit about, because there's 34, right? Strengths that they put a name to anyway.
That's right.
Yeah. But it's those first five.
Those first five are your top 5 strengths.
And how important, and if you can give us and I think everyone needs to take the strength finder step.
I do too.
You really do need to, but then you want to follow up with it on someone who you can actually sit and consult with.
That's right.
On what those 5 things and how you may implement it in your business, just like going to that event.
That's right.
You got those 5 things. Explain how you would break that down, or maybe you don't necessarily mention a agent's name, but maybe someone recently who said, hey, these were their strengths and this is what we did.
That's right. Great. So the top 34 strengths are awesome. You don't need all 34. Like you've mentioned, you only need to do the assessment for the top 5. That's my opinion. Because sometimes more information is too much. You get your top 5 strengths and you study them. And now when you get this assessment, you will also get reports. And these reports will have little links to videos that can really explain what each of your strengths really means. Okay? So get to know them individually. Start looking at how they're showing up in your life or not. And really look at your day-to-day activities. What gives you energy? What takes energy? That will be a key indicator of what is in those top 5 strengths. All right. And then when it comes to how you actually build your business around it, you can consult with someone that can say, well, are you doing this or are you doing that? And there are strategies around some of these things, but really it's about the energy that things are giving you or taking from you. So, I take an example of someone like me, for example. I'll just go through my strengths, communication, strategic, futuristic, responsibility, and I'm going to draw a blank. Oh, activator. I'm
an activator too.
Are you? Okay, I love it. Yeah.
I think activators might be my number 1.
Oh, is it?
Yes, I think so.
I think it's my number 2.
I'm printing them off after this.
You should.
I got to print them off because, go ahead.
Well, so it's the top 5 matter, but what matters more, and this is, again, where you got to do a little study, is the themes that they fall into. There are 4 themes. Out in those 34, they're divided into 4 themes. They're divided into executing, strategic thinking, relationship building, and I'm going to draw a blank on the 4th one. Influencing. There we go. Got it. I knew it was going to come to. There's those 4. Look at where they fall. So, for example, I have 1 in influencing. No, 2. I have activator and communication in influencing. I have strategic thinking and futuristic in strategic thinking. And I have activator or a responsibility in executing. But guess what I'm missing? Relationship building. So it's a gap. So what I do is I focus on, okay, you're really good at these 2 or 3 themes, but now you're missing, and I say missing because I don't want anyone to feel like they're not whole. We're all whole the way that we are.
Right.
But there's an area where you're not the strongest. So we've got to find a way to put leverage in place for that. So, and by the way, for our listeners today, I have a lot of great relationships. It's not that I can't. I'm literally not driven by relationship building. I'm driven by executing and influencing.
Right.
Okay. So that's where you get to know your strengths. Look at the 4 themes. Where is there a gap? Wherever there's a gap, that's an area you're going to struggle. And instead of making yourself better in that area, find someone or somehow, some way to fill that gap. And a lot of times it's hiring people. And I know I'm talking to people that are looking to build teams or get an administrative person. That administrative person, when you do their strengths, you can see, oh, this is where truly they fill my gaps. And together we make one kind of perfect person.
Right. No, and that's how that part in trying to get my business, and this is, we can have kind of like a little open conversation here about
yours,
because the relationship building is going to, I guarantee if I go in there and break it down, we're very similar.
Yep.
And where I know in my business and know enough how this business runs is I need that assistant.
Yep.
Who's, Miss Congeniality, warm and fuzzy on the phone and all this stuff. Can I go and chew on a loan bone, I call it, and get someone approved? Because I can smell that this loan has ability to actually get to the, a tough loan to actually get approved. And I will work it until there, because I know it can get done. With the amount of loans that I've done in my experience, and I'm more of a bottom line person. I'm like, okay, you want to buy a home? Okay, but why you want to do it? Okay, all right, we got you approved. Where's your, I'm like that. Get the loan set up, and then I need that follow up person that now is going to be Miss Congeniality, or him. I don't want to say her, but it has a softer voice, softer approach. I have a little more sense of urgency, and want to move on to the next conquer.
Well, and it takes all kinds of people to make deals happen. And I often say, if I did have that, it would probably diminish something else I'm great at. So we are designed the way we are. We are created to be really pretty much whole. And that's where the human network comes together and truly helps people be better together than alone.
Have you ever given someone one of these assessments? Because I know you probably, especially the DISC assessment. I know the DISC assessment in the loan world has, this is what a loan officer looks like. This is what a loan assistant looks like. So I imagine in your world where someone, that someone who wants to become a real estate agent came in, takes those tests, and you're like, all right, you're kind of opposite of what.
I refuse to do that. I refuse to look at a DISC profile and say you don't have the profile of a realtor.
Right.
I refuse to do that. Now, are there some propensities? Sure. Do we see that the majority of people that are making it big have a certain profile? Yes. But I want to believe in the human potential that we all have. And I believe anyone with any profile, when doing what they do best with their personality in mind, can be successful.
I want to put an amen to that. This is where our industry, I believe, is missing. Now,
big time.
I am blessed because I sit with, two outstanding professionals on the real estate agent side a week. And I could say, I can make myself feel like all of you are like that, but it's not. And I see it in the loan officer world because obviously although we're 100% commission, we are W-2'd. So we're not that self-employed unless I go open my own brokerage or something. And they're not taking the time, a few minutes, to take those tests and say, okay, you're very approachable. You walk in the room, everybody likes you. What do we need to do to 10X that?
That's right.
Right. And that's where they're missing the thing. And it's not just, just finding that, whatever that prospecting thing is.
Oh, there's one for every DISC profile.
Mm-hmm.
There is a prospecting propensity for each one. Let me just tell you what they are.
Yeah.
High D people need quick and dirty. They need to be able to get results quickly. They need to be able to get in with people and get out. So believe it or not, cold calls and door knocking are great for high D people. They want instant results. Mm-hmm. You even heard about it on Missy's, on her podcast. She said she did door knocking. I guarantee you she's pretty high D.
I think where she's gone, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
She talks about her whole family.
Type A,
yeah, her whole family's type A.
So you, that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Door knocking, cold calls, just getting to the point with people.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to attract people that like that, okay, and that respect that. All right. High I's really need to be doing events and parties. You do big events, client events, or you do, lunches and masterminds and that sort of thing where you get to talk to a lot of people and, be the social person.
Mm-hmm.
High S's are the high stable people. They're really going to lead with seminars, workshops, and things where they can instruct and help people get out of their own way and, be support to them. And then the high S's, the high C's, they're really going to lead with statistics and facts. And if you can lead a consumer to statistics and facts, and that appeals to them, the likelihood is they're a high C too, and they're going to really appreciate that in you. And a high I is probably going to annoy the crap out of them. So there is a realtor for everyone, and so embrace who you are, whatever disc that is.
Right.
Embrace it, build your business around it, and don't try to be like everybody else.
But the point being is find out what those are.
Find out what it is.
You may already, after you see your thing, and say, yeah, and because you read all the, hey, you probably like to do this, that, and the other thing, and you're gonna be like, yeah, that's me. I already know that.
That's right.
Well, okay. Well, now everybody knows you're that high C, and let's
Embrace
put you
it.
in the room with a bunch of engineers, and you can do spreadsheets
That's right.
together.
Embrace it.
Yeah.
Embrace it. But see, what I have found is that most people that don't fit the perfect profile, they think they have to be that way. So they are already setting themselves up for failure because they're like, well, I'm not a very people person. I'm not an extrovert, or I'm not the life of the party. I'd rather be behind the scenes. There's a place for you in real estate.
That's very interesting because we were having some different trainings in the last few weeks, and they were talking about, as you know, in your world, we also have all the little bells and whistles, and there's so many of them. You don't have time in the day to do that, and that C person is telling me, the high D, that I should be using Mortgage Coach and send out all this analysis on how much they're going to save over 30 years if they, bought a point now, and all this breakdown, and it's like, whoa.
Nope.
Yeah, no, that's not working for me. Now that may work for you, but then it's got to work for the clientele that you're hopefully going.
He or she's going to attract that.
If I'm a high C, I want to go down and hang out at Northrop Grumman, right? I want to hang out with those guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, you got to keep in mind that, and nothing against this high C person you're talking
Yes.
about. But say a high C comes to their business with that approach. What they're not recognizing as a high D, perhaps, just wants to figure out, how do we get this done the quickest and the fastest and the easiest with the least hassle for me?
Yeah.
So it's like you've really got to know. And that's where it goes back to, what does the consumer want? What does the consumer want? Find that out. Get into discovery about that, and then figure out how you can match what you value and what you offer to them. That's really what it boils down to.
I am definitely, I assume they're hiring me for my professionalism. I have 17 years in the business doing loans. I tell agents now, like, they ask about these down payment assistance programs. Oh my God, there's so many of them. Have the client apply. I will find out which one is the best to put them in the best position to buy the home. Do not start talking to them about a program that you don't know anything about, because they might not qualify for it. Then they're disappointed, but then you're also taking away, my thing is, I'm just going to look at it and say, yeah, you need to do this. Because I'm going to get right to the bottom line. I'm going to cut the fat out. I'm going to go right to the.
Perfect. Right. That's your strength. That's your value to them.
Because I do know that people can confuse people with too much.
Well, see, there's your value. So what I just heard you say was, the problem, you can solve it. The confusion, the overwhelming options, all of that. My value, Mr. Consumer or Mrs. Consumer, is I cut through the fat and I just get you what you want to hear. I just get you to the point. Right. See, that's where you're speaking to their problem before they even knew they had a problem.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great evaluation.
Yeah.
These are all different lines that you were using in that one podcast that was just exploding my head. Passions for things you do well. Operate in your strengths and energy. We were talking about that. Your way, uniquely you. Expand on that a little bit. How do you, we talked about the bio resume and so forth. What are some of the things some agents, maybe you're coaching or maybe you're doing, that you're seeing them do, like somebody, they're doing TikTok videos and they're killing it. What are some of the unique things that you've seen some people really get out of your...
So TikTok's one of them. I have one agent that's doing TikTok's video type shorts and is working for her. She's got a huge network of people and they just love it.
TikTok is, from what I understand, is pushing against YouTube as a search engine.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe
it's
it.
crazy.
I know. It is. And it's legitimately where we're headed. I know this. I'm not on that bandwagon yet, but I think I'm going to have to be. Yeah. So that's one of the ways. I mean, I think, again, based on their profile and their personality style, from there, we're figuring that out. But a lot of it is social media, different avenue. But see, even social media has its different platforms for different types of personalities.
100%.
So this particular agent that's doing the shorts, she is very bubbly, very high I, very life of the party person. This is perfect for her. But I have other agents that are not like that, that are really great at giving market statistics and are able to really share that and really show themselves as an expert through using some strategies around just providing knowledge.
Right.
That isn't entertaining.
I know, and I know you know these agents that are out there. I'll mention Austin on the show. I'll eventually get him on, but with EXP, where he's at Beacon Lakes, and he's doing his once a month video on this is what's going on, and he says he's walking down the street, and people are looking, going, "Hey, Austin," and he's like, "I don't even know who that is." And his wife's like, "You're a celebrity."
That's right.
Because he's in his space, and he's putting out obviously knowledge that people want, and they're following him.
They're following him.
Yep.
You know, when you embrace who you are, and when you embrace who you uniquely are, and you are not trying to be somebody else other than who you are, there is no competition for that. No one can be you at all. No one can even try. And so why do we try to be other people? And so really embrace who you are wholeheartedly. Do it authentically.
I think you're going to agree with the statement. Because of the social media and the technology world, it's not the 1980s where you have to actually go and look in the newspaper or look in the listing magazine or whatever, however real estate agents got what was on the MLS.
Yeah, no.
This stuff is happening instantaneously.
Yep.
And then if you want to be a TikToker, if you want to be an Instagrammer, if you want to be a Facebooker, Twitter, I don't know I haven't figured out how people actually leverage Twitter, but it's being done.
Yeah, probably for the high seas.
Elon Musk says it can be done better.
Yeah.
You know, but whatever that lane is that that client you're trying to attract, because you're attractable in that space.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, and the one thing you have to factor in, and you're a visionary, I'm a visionary. One of the things I've had to learn when I'm working with visionaries is you have to have one little factor when you're calculating what you're going to do. Whatever strategy you're going to do, and make sure it aligns with your strengths, all that. Whatever strategy you're going to do, great. The one factor nobody thinks about is what I call the results lag. You're going to have to do this thing for a while before you get results. So buckle in. Yeah, deep breaths over there. Deep breaths, because this is where grit meets the road. If you don't have grit and you can't if you tell yourself it's not working in the first 90 days, you're setting yourself up for failure. You've got to plug into this thing for 90 days to 6 months before you can expect anything to come out of it.
I am inspired by I see there's a good group of young people in our business, more on the real estate side, agent side, that have gotten it because they followed. And if you listen to them, either they deliberately followed someone who has been down the path before them, or just aligned with them and just said, "Oh, well, I like what he's doing," and followed it.
Sure.
But they got in line behind. I look back at my age, and the things that I hear, and it's the same thing. I'm telling you right now, the same things are being said today that were being said back in the 80s, in the 90s, in the 2000s. And we're still, you go to a high school football game, you're still listening to AC/DC, okay? The same stuff I listened when I was in high school, okay? The whole thing about how many times people were just one step away.
Yep.
Or they were one axe or pitchfork away from hitting the golden nugget.
That's right.
Turned around and walked away, and the next guy walked up
and grabbed
he hit it and grabbed it.
Yep.
And so many people have reached that point, and like I said, it's kind of losing weight, right? If you don't lose weight right away on whatever diet you're on, you pretty much give it up right away.
That's right.
And the reality is, we know you've got to stick with it. You've got to keep doing. Social media is that thing. You got to keep doing it. You got to keep doing it.
That's right.
Some people will catch on faster than others, but you got to keep doing it. Keep improving what you're doing. Keep doing it, and eventually, you will spill over.
Well,
and reach that tipping point.
And don't forget this one important thing: when you look at successful people that have done it, okay, that you're seeing their results.
Mm-hmm.
You are one of their results. You're a follower.
Right.
That's the result.
Yep.
You are literally looking at their results. You never saw the lag. Okay, we forget about the lag both from when we're doing it and from when we're observing it in others. We always forget the lag, and what we end up doing as people, humans, is we compare, there's a quote out there that says, don't compare your insides to other people's outsides.
Mm-hmm.
We're comparing our lag to their lead. We're seeing what they're doing and we're thinking, well, it's not working for me. That's not a fair comparison. You have no idea
they're at a
what
different stage, different.
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't. And like you said, success principles don't change. No. It doesn't matter what era we're in of social media or technology. So success principles don't change.
Yep, 100%. And you think about, I had Christella Amaku on. She was a single mom. She reached that point where she was in real estate, and hers was she had Failure Was Not an Option was the name of her show, because she said failure was not an option. She stuck with it. You changed gears a little bit and it led you right back to where you needed to be. But that was your lag.
That was my lag.
And so many, if you went back and said, well, okay, well, I'm just going to, you have to realize like, you're going to be late on some of your bills, and, your credit's going to go, down. And, Christella had to borrow a car at a period of time. A cell phone her sister hooked her up with before she hit the golden nugget.
Yeah.
And started going with her business. And so everyone has that. We look at some of these I've seen some young 20s and they're really doing well. And you're like, where was their lag? Well, you know what? Their lag was probably a little bit shorter over grand scheme of things, but trust me, they went through some times that forced them or just aligned them quicker than you did.
That's right.
And we're just,
we just can't compare.
Yeah.
Everybody's journey is different. The moral of the story here is don't quit.
Yep.
If it's, again, if you're in alignment with who you are and your personality and all those things, and you enjoy it, stick with it.
Yep. 100%. And it circles back around to the statement, you are your only competition.
That's right.
You have got to dig deep into your soul and take those strength tests, find out who you are, get with someone to help you evaluate it and create a plan. It will just take time off that lag. That's all.
It will take some time off the lag. And yes, hopefully Jake Dixon is one of the people that I'm in alignment with, he's the owner of the Locker Room, just a fantastic human. And he says, we've already paid the stupid tax for you. Just so follow this plan.
Yes.
But you still have to bring your tenacity to that plan. There's just no way around that.
Yep. I like this line that you use, and you can, if I didn't quote this correctly, because I was listening and typing it, trying to get the words down as quickly as possible. You're paid directly by the proportions to the energy and passion you bring.
You're paid in direct proportion to the energy and passion with which you show up or that you bring to the table.
Right.
Yeah. No matter what entrepreneurial endeavor you're in. Now, again, if you're getting a W-2 check, this is you're going to get that paycheck as long as you do your job, right? One assumes. But if you're in any entrepreneurial endeavor, meaning you're getting paid based on results, those results are going to come in based on your energy and passion. So energy and passion have to stay high.
Because if you ask, well, anyone, why are you attracted to someone?
Energy.
It's their energy and passion.
Yeah.
Obviously, the simple thing, if we go to the common denominator, an attractive person coming in the room a lot of times is confident because they're confident in what they look like. Now, you may go over and start talking to them and they're like,
yeah. Plenty of times that has happened.
That happens.
Yeah.
But they have something about them that they're confident about. You may be the fat 52-year-old like me, walks in the room, but someone asks me about a loan, I can answer the question.
You've seen plenty of people, unattractive people, be wildly successful. So, and again, I use that term very lightly because attraction is different to different people. Yeah. But I've looked at people, I'm like, I'm not even sure how you're doing that. Why do I ever question what I look like? Or you just show up who you are.
Yeah. Yes.
Because that part does not matter. What matters is the energy and the passion with which you're showing up.
Missy was talking about in the last show, be authentic.
Be authentic.
Find out your authenticity and go at it. And
energy and passion are extremely attractive.
Mm-hmm.
If you've met anyone who at first glance might not have been someone that stood out as a supermodel, you meet them and you hear their story and you hear what's behind them, and suddenly they just become this magnetic person to you.
Right.
And that's truly who we need to each become. And imagine our world if we were all living in that space, because we all have that in us.
Know what to say yes to, and we'll know what to say no to.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Say no to it if you're only doing it because you saw someone else do it. Now, if again, you've poked holes in it and evaluated that it is truly a strategy you can sustain, do it. But don't say yes to everything.
Right.
You need to say yes to 1, 2. I say 1, 2, or 3 max things that are going to really bring in business for you.
Now, you said because someone else, you added that on there. It probably was in your podcast. I just heard that line and I wanted to expand on where you want to go with that. You have to evaluate these brokerages. You have to evaluate yourself, and do you fit?
Yeah.
Because I think all this that we're talking about, and why I think your ideology, and correct me if I'm wrong, your ideology at Game Changer is that you are digging into each and every agent and finding out, their strengths, their weaknesses, the things they can 10x on, their passions, and because that's what's really going to make them blossom.
Yep. That
just joining some of these teams may be a fit. It may not. You need to find out, well, just because your boyfriend or girlfriend went over and they're working with that large team and they're doing really well, doesn't mean you're going to be able. I know I couldn't walk in there and they're locked in these small rooms sometimes making phone calls. I'm like, bless you in there, because I could not do that.
That's not me either. Yeah. It's really our ideology is to help agents do their first 5 deals as fast as we can. Mm-hmm. We really believe that when you can do 5 and you get that confidence from there, it will reveal to you your next step. Coming into this business, you have no idea what you don't know. Most agents choose a brokerage for the absolutely wrong reasons. Mm-hmm. They choose a brokerage based on splits and fees, but 0% of 0 is still 0. 80% failure rate is still an 80% failure rate. So let's do things differently.
You said something in one of the. I've purged all your information. I know not all of it, some of it, but you said there was something in there. You were talking. You guys were talking about scripts on one of the podcasts.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember because you were talking about the customer, but I think you or your guests flipped it to yes. When I'm talking to an agent, if this is where you want to be, you're not really concerned about the split. Mm-hmm. I mean, unless it's gross, but,
right?
You gotta find that space where you're going to 10x and blossom. You can have the greatest split over here in the desert, but you ain't gonna grow because there's no water.
Let's talk about a for sale by owner. Okay, and I'm not here to talk splits because
no,
but let's talk about for sale by owner who doesn't want to hire a realtor because they want to do it on their own.
Right.
Okay, a brand new agent, 9 times out of 10 may have the FSBO mindset. Well, I'm gonna do it on my own. I'm gonna go find the lowest this and so, and I'm just gonna place my license here. Well, we know that categorically FSBOs make less money on their sale because they didn't have the help that they needed.
Right.
The same thing applies. Do not make a decision on splits. Now, if you find a great broker who's got a great split model, who can give you the training and support,
it should be in your list, but not number one.
It's not number one. Yeah. It's not number one. Now, again, and I'm not here to knock any kind of splitter at all, but just don't make a decision based on that. Make a decision based on leadership and support.
Well,
and track record.
Well, there comes a balance, right? You got to have, if you want that value from your leadership broker, you want that training. Well, your split has got to be accordingly.
It's got to cost money.
Yeah, but you need to go and talk to talk to some agents that are on there.
That's
talk
right.
to some agents somewhere else. Is that a good split for what I'm getting? You have to see value in it.
You have to see value, and you know what? Ask your leadership, whether it's your coach, your trainer, or your broker. Mm-hmm. What is your track record? Who have you led to the success that I want in my life?
Right.
Let their track record speak for itself. You said something in a recent podcast that I said, and I was reminded of, and I was like, I love that quote, and I'm going to quote you.
Okay.
You said, do you want the whole grape or a part of the watermelon?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's Carl White with Mortgage Marketers uses it all the time. Do you want all of the grape or half the watermelon?
Yeah, I would even say, do you want all the grape or a bite of the watermelon?
Right.
Because they're the same size.
Yes.
Right? So that's where we have to really look at life differently. We have to really look at, it is about value, don't step over dollar bills just to get to the nickel. Like, really look at the value. Okay. Yeah. And again, track record, support, coaching, all those things. And unfortunately they do cost money. Those are not things we can deliver for free.
This goes back to my vision that I mentioned earlier of having that neutral panel because I remember when I was growing up, my dad was going to start his own business. Actually, he was buying a small business. And he told me, you could go to the Chamber of Commerce and they would have business owners in there, a panel of them. And you'd come in and tell them what you thought you wanted to do and so forth. And they would obviously consult you in one way, poke holes into it, or, whatever, give you a consultation so that you went out with hopefully a neutral party's thoughts so you can make a logical decision.
Absolutely.
And if you're a new agent out there right now, that panel does not exist for you, but those people exist.
They do.
If you want to call Jen here, you want to call some other top brokers. I would obviously talk to some top agents. If you're looking at a particular brokerage, go and actually sit and talk to a couple of different people from that brokerage before you really make that decision.
Well, at our company, we do connect them with one of our agents to talk about our brokerage because we're a unique model, because we don't do things like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
We invite them to, because we want them to understand what they're getting into. And we want them to know if it's not right for you, I don't want you to waste your time.
It's an energy drain for you.
For all of us.
It's an energy drain for your company
For
to bring somebody on and then 6 months later they're going somewhere else.
That's
and
right.
You spend all this time and energy, so you want to make sure that they are well aware, because you're willing to deliver if they're willing to participate.
That's right.
Yeah. We're gonna. I want to go down. These are common themes here. You've probably heard, if you've listened to a couple of my podcasts, I like to go over these because these are the common themes that I hear. How important, and really maybe just say something about Game Changer and what you do to fill education. How important is it that every month, week, whatever is you're going to be doing a webinar here in an hour at noontime, how important it is for everyone to be biting on that apple of education in the business, because it never ends.
Never ends.
It never ends.
So your educational needs will change as your business develops. Always be looking a couple steps ahead to know what you need. And so no, that never ends. I am in coaching and I am in training as a broker and a leader. I'm always looking to level up. I spend a lot of money on my education. I go to Tony Robbins events. I go to the locker room events. I do a lot of events and trainings, and I listen to podcasts all day long. I read books, constantly leveling myself up. Your brokerage, whatever your brokerage is offering in training, sign up for it. Get there, do that. As your needs change, if your brokerage is not providing that, go to your broker and say, I would really love some training on this. Brokers value that kind of feedback.
Right.
So stay in your education.
Because they can get stale too, not realizing that,
That's right.
hold on a second, I'm not keeping the pace up that I maybe had a couple of years ago.
They wouldn't know unless you tell them, or unless they're, and sometimes they're so busy, it's hard to even know.
And here in Northeast Florida, we have great places like Landmark Title that's putting on, there's always some educational pieces there. There's, like I said, what you're doing, if you actually search it, there's more than you have time for in a day. So you just need to pick out the time that you have and pick that one or two things a week or a month, constantly be educating yourself. You said something else right there in that statement, and that's showing up. Mm-hmm. Showing up to the education that's being offered at your brokerage, obviously to participate as the team and be involved, learn for yourself, and take that part away. What about just, like you said, you talked about, showing up to events, being present.
Yep. Yeah. Well, showing up does more than train you and teach you. You're going to learn stuff, but it's also going to give you culture. And this can be a really lonely business if you go at it alone. Mm-hmm. And culture, we all need it. We all need collaboration. We all need community. No matter what personality style you are, we all need it. We just need it in varying degrees. So showing up is a really big part of this. Make a calendar for yourself of what you're going to show up to, and then show up. Yeah. It's really not hard. We just have to have the discipline and the value to understand it.
Show up could be show up at your kid's ball game, and and somehow in a polite way, don't have to be, let everyone, hey, I'm a real estate agent. Mm-hmm. You know anyone that, I can help out?
Wear a t-shirt. Wear your name tag.
Yeah. I'm thinking about my son's he's got eight boys, and actually they're all fairly local. I was like, I'm going to get them some sort of swag. I'm going to go on there today. Maybe it's a bag or something, water bottle, whatever it is. But then their parents know that, one, I'm involved, and I'm contributing a little bit to the overall thing. But showing up. Here's the big word, and we talked about it a little bit, but I think it's, to me, if there's one thing, education obviously is big. If that's 49%, this would be 49% as well, or 48%. Consistency.
Yeah, it's everything.
Yeah.
We talked about it a minute ago.
Mm-hmm.
Consistency is probably the one thing that is getting increasingly more difficult for people just because of the world we live in. It's really easy to get distracted.
Yep.
You know, there was a statistic that said once you need to get in front of your customers 7 to 12 times for them to know that you're a real estate agent. Now it's 12 to 15. Why? Because the world is so distracting. Yep. We have so many things pulling us in so many directions. It's easy to get off the consistency train.
So with that statement, because that's some of the top agents are like, social media, because that's the 12 to 15 times top of mind that they're staying in front. Because I can open my phone right now and I could probably tell you 3 agents that are probably right there every time I open my phone. Yep. They're showing a house, doing something, talking about something. Obviously the good ones are doing the balance between personal and business.
Yeah, right? And you can't depend on social media to do all of it for you.
No.
Yeah,
you can't just sit back in your house and shoot videos and wait for the phone to ring.
Right. You got to get out there. You got to be on the ground.
I know you follow this because just the energy that, obviously like-mindedness and the thoughts that you and I have together and coming in alignment, but surrounding yourself with 5 successful people. If someone's a new agent today, maybe they do know some okay agents, or what do they need to do? What would you instruct that person today to do that really needs to start surrounding themselves? How do they make that group?
If you go to any realtor events, you're going to meet great realtors. And realtors, by the way, we oftentimes see them as our competition. I would encourage everybody, don't see them as your competition. Like Missy said in her podcast, like I stand for, like I say, there's enough business for everyone. Mm-hmm. And the consumer isn't going to work with they really want to work with their particular shade of blue, like I talk about in my past. They're looking for their person. It's not going to be everybody, and that's okay. Make peace with that. Real estate agents are a really great way for you to build your business and to build yourself, especially ones in other communities. Like even here in Jacksonville, people in St. Augustine, I'm not probably going to go to St. Augustine or South to do any business, but I know agents down there and I can surround myself with them. Going to realtor events, going to the board events, those are going to be some great ways to meet people. And then all the communities on Facebook and social media that you can get a part of.
Pick up the phone, give them a call.
Absolutely.
Go have coffee with them.
Yeah.
I will tell you this, if you don't already know, because if you've never listened to any one of my podcasts before, every one of the great agents, they all are collaborating. Some of the top ladies I've had most of this core group, but I know there's others have these little side groups. They are out finding each other for a lunch once a month or every other month. Yeah. They are, you're seeing them on Facebook hanging out together.
Yeah.
And they're all from they're 5 different women from 5 different brokerages.
Yeah, they're not afraid of that.
No,
don't be afraid of it.
They're exchanging ideas. They're exchanging experiences, because that's the thing you need to, as Missy said, she had a property out of Ponte Vedra, or, she needed, so I think it was Missy, or it might've been, Erica Jollis from Roundtable. Really, they were talking about, I had a property out of Ponte Vedra. It's not necessarily my area of expertise, but I need to comp it out because it was on the water. It's a unique situation, and I call someone who's out there that I know that does it all the time.
That's right.
They're not. They would like to have the listing, of course, but they're not going to go and get upset about it.
The way you show up to your life when you talk about showing up. Are you showing up with open hands or closed hands? Open hands are going to give, but they can also receive. When you show up to your business with an open heart and open hands and open mind, you're going to get back too.
Is that there's a lag to that?
There is. You're right.
There's not an instant,
we're back to the lag.
We all want to say, if we just go in there and we just grab it and we run, we got it in our hand. It's our.
No.
But it
comes to you.
It goes back to the success principles you talked about. Mm-hmm. You give. People have told me this podcast. I've had people agents that I don't even know, have come to me and the value, and they enjoy listening to other people's stories and get inspired by it and so forth. So I'm in the giving mode. At some point it will tip, and then I'll have to have 5 people in here writing the loans for me.
I can't wait for that for you.
Yes, I know I can't either. But you have to come with it, and it's going to come back tenfold.
It will come
versus you go in there and grab that one time.
That's right.
Yeah.
It is consistency. And, I've been in this business for 20 years, and I've been working in the leadership and coaching for the last, 7 or 8. I've seen this happen too many times to not know it's a thing. And it may be a thing in your world too. When a real estate agent goes and does something really hard, consistently, something maybe that's outside of their comfort zone, suddenly some other piece of business comes out of the woodworks that they weren't even looking for. I tell you, I'll give you an example. One time my team made me go door knocking. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. I went out and door knocked, and I went with a good attitude. And I went and I had this great day. Didn't get any leads. I mean, I got a couple names, but I don't remember anything major coming from that. I got in my car back to my phone. There was a referral on my phone. I have seen that happen so much that I believe it's a thing. I don't know what it's called, but it's a thing.
Well, I think to me, it's the passion and energy thing.
Exactly.
You went out with the passion and energy, and you trudged and did something you didn't do, but you did it with a good attitude.
That's right.
Or, maybe we're not the most social person, but we showed up at the social.
We showed up anyway.
We went to, maybe there's a community party and you're really not,
Yep.
I always say my wife knows everybody. I go there. All the fathers don't know anybody. We don't know each, because the women talk.
That's right.
We show up, but because you showed up, all of a sudden something happened.
That's right. That happens.
You got to swing the axe one more time.
You do. Another example is I went to a women business owner meeting, and I remember it was in this gorgeous location, and I had to pay money to go there, and I sat there the whole time, and I'm like, why am I here? I'm not meeting anyone. I had talked to several people. I'm like, this is such a waste of my time. I left. I did kind of have a bad attitude, I ain't gonna lie. But I did meet some people. I got in the elevator, and on the way down from the elevator, I met a woman who wanted to sell her home. And I listed her home and listed another one that she had in the elevator on the way out.
So the conversation was, you probably got in the elevator, you were at this woman event, and that was probably something of the, you just started, that was enough to start the conversation. And then you were a real estate agent. She goes, because you both, I assume there's another woman, and something, you went to that woman's event, and that was your bond.
Something was exactly
it broke the ice,
and there it was. Now there were other realtors at that event, that got up and spoke. She didn't go to them, and I'm not saying they did anything wrong. My point was, you just never know. You show up, do what you're supposed to do, stay consistent.
Right.
The business will reward you.
Right. 100%.
Trust it, and you have to trust it.
All right, I want to wind up, because I know you've got to run, but I want this to get out there. So somebody is listening to you. They're listening to your podcast, Game Changer. So the actual full title is Game Changer
Real Estate.
Now, when I searched it, if you just put in Game Changer, there's a lot of game.
You have to put in real estate.
Put in the real estate, and even if you put your first 5 deals, because I know it's on your thumbnail, whatever they call it there. Yeah, kind of like that's what you see when you go on Apple, my sign there. So if you want to Google that, so someone listen to that, they align with you. They've heard you here today. They want to reach out. What's the steps of how would you take a new realtor that calls you, say, man, I heard you on the podcast. I really like what you have to hear. I'd really like to, think about coming over to Game Changer. What's the steps that you would take them through?
So go to our website, gamechangerrealty.com. And on there, you're going to see the podcast. You're going to see a lot about us. You're going to see my blog. You're going to see all kinds of stuff. And then there's an apply now button. It doesn't mean you're joining our brokerage. It just means you're getting in touch with us. And we ask you some information about you, and it's going to automatically prompt me or one of my team members to give you a call. And we do meet with agents twice a week, brand new agents, to talk about real estate. We do that twice a week, and you can sign up for one of those and come to our office and meet with us, and then get some more information, whether you're licensed and looking for a brokerage, or whether you're thinking about getting into real estate.
I will say this, if those that are listening right now, if you may not go to Game Changer, you need to go talk to Game Changer. Because the conversation, this high-level stuff that Jen is talking about, 9 out of 10 of the brokerages are not doing it. The really successful ones are, and they're getting deep in with their agents. There is plenty of human capital out there that wants to get into real estate. 87% don't succeed. They like to be most of the 13% that do actually make some money. Yeah. Hopefully there's some 3%ers in there.
Yeah, I already have some.
And they're really breaking down. If anything you leave from the conversation they have with you or in your team is digging in a little deeper about themselves.
Yeah. I'm never a hard sales pitch, because I really feel like the right people are going to be in the right place with us or not. And that's okay. I really just want to help agents figure out what's best for them. Yeah. And if that means coming to our organization and letting us help you, great. It's not always the right fit, but I can at least get you in the right direction.
If there's anything that's going to be a differentiator, if you're a new agent and you're trying to flatten that learning curve, it's learning about yourself
Yep.
and having someone coach you through those assessments. And really it's all you. It is all you. There is enough real estate out there, and there's enough people doing it badly that someone who really gets in and focuses on those fundamentals in 90, 120 days, you're on your way to getting those 5 deals.
Well, you are. And our aim is 5 deals in 5 months.
Right.
We've even shortened it. Now, you may not have 5 closed, but we want 5 in your pipeline.
Right.
And, you said something interesting, and I know you were going to this, and that is there's enough people out there doing it wrong to really be able to do this right.
Yes.
And that's really what we're about.
And shine.
That's right.
Yeah, 100%. All right, 2-minute warning questions. I'm going to wrap it up. Unless you have something you want to add.
No, I think we've
You're
covered
good?
it.
Good?
Yeah,
Because we could talk for hours. I can tell you that right now.
I know. I can, for sure.
Is it more important? No, actually, I don't want to ask that question just yet. What's your favorite thing to do here in Northeast Florida? Because I think we sell lifestyle in Florida, as in the real estate world. You sell lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
That's why people want to move to Florida. What is it that you like to do? What do your family like? What do you guys like to do in Northeast Florida?
Well, if you're not talking business, because my favorite thing to do is business. I love business. Okay.
Sure.
Outside of that, my husband and I love the outdoors. We love Florida, not in July, August, and September. Any of the other months, we are really venturing into RVing and going to state parks and just really see the pretty sights that Florida has to offer. We haven't ventured out of Florida yet, but we are big into the lakes and rivers and the big bodies of water.
There's some beautiful, some of these freshwater springs.
Oh, the springs. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
The campsites. We're really exploring all of that. We're learning there's just a really awesome world here in Florida to explore.
I guess because people don't realize what's even in our backyard right here.
I know, that's true.
I went out, I'm with the Freedom Boat Club, so we go boating every Sunday. A couple weeks ago, I was out on the St. John's, and it was, we go out early before it gets too hot.
Too hot.
And it's not even 9 o'clock in the morning. The river is just flat calm.
Love it.
I could add a word in there for you boaters. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. FAC. And I put my kids in the water. They're going to pull them in the tube. I look over and I see some splashes. Now, I've run into some porpoises in the St. John's. So I'm thinking it's that. So I kind of just crawl over there. Manatees.
Oh.
There had to be a dozen of them.
Wow.
Just in different pods. We just sat there for over a half an hour. They came up to the boat and everything. So this weekend, it was my wife's birthday, so I took out my in-laws and her sister and her parents, and we snuck up into Black Creek, which if you've never been up in the Black Creek, you got to go up in there. It's deeper water in Black Creek than it is in the St. Johns River, but you go up there, and sure, the manatees were right there, and they got to see them. It wasn't as exciting as a couple weeks ago, the weeks before, because just the 4 of us, my 2 kids and my wife and I, and they were coming up, but they were close enough that wildlife is right there. And then you're going out to these parks, you go in these freshwater springs, or you go what's at Homosassa, where the manatees like to come up into the warmer water in the winter months and so forth, and you can swim with them and stuff. Well,
anybody that knows me also knows I'm obsessed with the rivers.
Yeah.
Because we've seen dolphins out there too. And what my favorite place here in Jacksonville, we live in Riverside. My favorite place in Jacksonville is down on the river behind St. Vincent's Hospital. There's a beautiful river walk there. No one knows about it. It is beautiful. It's walking distance from my house, so I go out there all the time. They have a beautiful kind of like a pergola out there. It's fantastic. It's peaceful and serene. Right. Got to go visit it. That's my favorite hangout.
There might be a lot of people there now.
Well, stay away from my space. Let me have my space.
But yeah, there's space there. Last question. Is it more important who you know or what you know?
Oh, I definitely think it's who you know.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. I think there's, as you're one of those people who, a coach, you like to help people. And as long as you come with the right attitude and the passion that we talked about, that makes it doesn't matter what you do in real estate. It's everywhere. If you've got that that positive aura and you're open to chase down and these highly successful people, because every one of these top agents that I have on, and obviously yourself, because you're a coach, they want to help you. Mm-hmm. You call them, they will give you some of their time. Mm-hmm. They're not like, you're nobody. I don't know. Trust me. If you call them, say, I heard you on the podcast. I think you're awesome. I've seen you on social media. I think you're awesome. I'd really like to know how you run your business. Trust me, they will either have a phone conversation or a coffee with you or lunch or whatever.
Well, like we said, there's a lot of people that aren't following through. So the ones that will, we want to give back to them.
100%.
Yeah.
Jen, I appreciate you being on. It's a
Thanks
great
for
show.
having me. It's been awesome.
Excellent.
Appreciate
Thank you.